Welcome to the MLB Slate Breakdown. I'm Jason Gilman. With me is Brent Hyde. Taking a look at today's Wednesday 11-game slate on FanDuel and DraftKings. Very ugly pitching slate. You can call it what you want. I think there's certain words we can't say on here, but it's those words.
Are there words we can't say? I didn't know there were rules. I will say it is garbage. I think we can get away with that one. It is not a very good pitching slate. I had to write the pitching article, and it was brutal. We'll get into who I think is probably the safest pitcher on the slate tonight, and whenever he's the safest pitcher on a slate, you know it's going to be bad.
Yeah, it's not going to be a fun one. I had the stacking article today, which was nice. I had my pick of the litter.
It's kind of funny. Like, there's not a lot of pitchers I feel terribly great about, but like when I dig into some of the stacks, I'm just like, eh.
It's a ballpark thing too, because like Chen's obviously on the slate, but it's in Miami, and then like we got a couple other ones where it's like, well, they could go off, but then they couldn't. So maybe this is overall just a terrible slate.
I prefer the early slate a little bit more than the main slate, but we are here to talk about the main slate, so I guess we can do that.
Let's dig in here. Seattle, Baltimore, Wade LeBlanc take on Alex Cobb. LeBlanc finally had his first kind of uneasy outing against the Sox, although I think just everyone in that series in general just saw each other twice, and then that was kind of how I'm chalking it up.
Yeah, because I mean, even James Paxton really struggled. Obviously, defense did not help him in his outing against the Red Sox, but yeah, LeBlanc definitely did not have a very good game. Gave up 6 earned runs. Like you said, it was kind of his first major blow up start outside of, like, I guess, Houston. I was a little bit interested in him here until I saw the weather, and with wind blowing out like 10 to 15 miles per hour, and potentially this game being even rained out, and the fact that you have Trumbo and a couple of these guys that have been really hot recently, I am probably off the Wade LeBlanc train here tonight.
Yeah, I'm with you. If weather was a little better, if situations were a little different, then I think I'd be okay. But like you said, if we're starting to see some of these bats come around a little bit more, and usually it's just Machado that we worry about. And like you said, when Trumbo and Valencia and some of these guys' scopes gotten going a little bit, and I know Tim Beckham's usually a strikeout or two in a lineup, but he does have some pop, obviously. Yeah, I think I'm with you. I'm off. There's maybe a couple other directions I might just rather go instead.
Yeah, I mean, especially at his price, like on DraftKings, like you weren't considering him on FanDuel or any of the like just sites where it's only one pitcher. But like on DraftKings, like he's 7,800 for a couple hundred more. You can get some safer options tonight.
Yeah. Like you said, the weather's a concern here. We have to see if this one even plays. I don't mind a couple bats, but as always, Baltimore's just kind of that GPP team where you can look at some of these guys are fairly cheap still, in that mid-range. Like Danny Valencia is only 3.2 at third base, Trumbo's 4.4, Scope's 3.7. Like I don't mind taking some shots on them, but they're just boomer bust guys.
Yeah, I would be looking at Valencia, who actually hits cutters pretty well, 376 WOBA dating back to 2016 with a 38% contact or hard contact rating, 38% overall contact. That would be very, very bad. But he's someone that I do have a little bit of interest in. And like Trumbo is a guy like over the last 14 days, like ranks 4th or 5th in hard contact. He's someone that's been absolutely raking recently, and I don't mind him. I mean, he's got like a 60% hard contact rate over the last 14 days. So that's pretty good. And then you have, the Machados, the Scopes. I guess Tim Beckham is someone that you can consider. They're guys that I'm going to be looking at if this game plays, just to kind of fill out a lineup, like maybe one or two guys here or there.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think we've done stacking Baltimore.
I have not felt comfortable stacking Baltimore in like 2 seasons, and I am not going to get comfortable now because it is almost always a letdown whenever you stack Baltimore all out.
Yes, usually is. Alex Cobb on the other side. Guy who's been on and off this year. He's looked good and really good in certain spots, and then just looks awful in the next. I don't mind taking some Seattle bats against him. He struggled against both sides of the plate, although I do prefer a little bit of lefties just because the ground ball rate's up against right-handers. But I definitely don't mind it here.
Yeah, Seattle, I think, is going to be one of those stacks that's pretty popular and for good reason. Like Alex Cobb has been significantly worse than he has been better this season. Like, I mean, there's been some really, 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 really bad outings like Toronto where he gave up 9 earned runs. I do really like the Mariners here. I would really, really like them more if Nelson Cruz was, going to make the lineup. I imagine he's probably out again tonight, which I guess could open some things up, but it's definitely an interesting spot for them here. And none of them are too terribly expensive, like depending on where you look.
I think if you look at like the bottom half, like Kyle Seager's only 3.8. I don't hate Ryan Healy in the spot as well, or like a Denard Span. And if Chris Herman's catching, a cheap catching option from the left side that I'd look to attack, especially in this ballpark.
Yeah, he definitely would be someone. I didn't see the revised lineup last night. Did he make the lineup whenever Cruz was scratched?
I can check that right now. Yeah,
I saw Cruz was scratched, but I didn't see who made the lineup in his place.
No, it was Gamel, Heredia, and Haniger. Zunino still caught, but I know they've been kind of going back and forth on Zunino and Herman. So,
yeah, I mean either guy is interesting here. Zunino, especially, like if he's in the lineup, like he just rakes against curveballs, like 282 ISO, 327 WOBA dating back to 2016. Someone that's I would definitely have interest in. But I like D Gordon. I like Kyle Seager. Went yard last night in a good spot here again. Ballpark boost for all these guys. Healy on FanDuel is really cheap at like 2,600.
yeah, this goes overlooked, and especially I'm trying to dig out these cheaper first base options, and Healy is definitely one of those guys.
Yeah, and even D Gordon, like 3,100, not a guy you're ever looking at for power, but good on base guy, and he's really cheap on FanDuel too.
Yeah, so this is a game, if it plays, going to be some good offense here. Next game here, we got New York and Philly. This is a spot where I don't mind targeting some offense, but this is another weather concern. But we got Luis Cessa take on Zach Eflin. Any interest in these pitchers?
No, generally I would have a little bit more interest in Cessa. The problem is he's just been a bullpen guy. And like he's probably going to max out at like 50 pitches. Like I have not seen a hard number, but like in his 4 relief outings this season, he's only pitched once since April, and he only pitched 26 pitches, 2 innings. So we might be lucky to get him above 50 pitches, but it's just not a spot where I feel like I can roll him out. I guess if you want to take the shot in tournaments and you're stacking like high dollar bats, feel free, but I don't know how deep he's going to go in this game.
Yeah, it looks like Newsy's going to be capped at around 70 to 80 pitches, but I think that's kind of a generous amount as well. It does kind of make it tricky to target Philly against him, especially if they toss in a long reliever, and obviously you get some of that New York bullpen. I would be probably looking at still guys like, Herrera and Santana and GPPs and Nick Williams. I'm looking at some of the lefty bats, but they're all just kind of GPP guys.
Yeah, especially at their prices. I'm not really looking like Odubel Herrera. I know he's been really, really hot, but 5,200. That's tough to pay. And I 100% do not buy into the 70, 80 pitches. Like I don't see him going from 28 pitches to 80.
So. Aaron Boone spouts out a lot of crap too.
Yeah.
He reminds me of Matheny a little bit, and Dave Roberts, and just that brand of manager.
Yeah, for sure.
So, New York side of things here, Eflin's been a guy who generally we like to target. Been a little annoying this year to do the same with, but a couple of bats I don't mind going against him, although I still think I'm just kind of buying into the lefties here.
Yeah, I'm looking at lefties here. He's a guy that has struggled dating back to last season against lefties. I had my filter wrong, but Bird, Didi would be the guys that I have the most interest in. Obviously, Hicks, if he makes the lineup, I hope he makes the lineup over like Brett Gardner. Just stop playing Brett Gardner, please, for the love of God. I would those would be the guys I would look at.
Yeah, it's a spot where, getting cheaper exposure, like you said. I mean, most of these guys are about under 4,300 outside of Gregorius from the left side. And, if you want to use a one-off of like Standard Judge, it's fine. But I think there's better expensive options to go with.
Yeah, I really like Greg Bird at his price on DraftKings at 3,800. I know he's cheap on FanDuel as well. He's like 2,300.
Yeah.
He was mega chalk last night, which was kind of crazy. But yeah, I like him in this spot.
Next one here, we got Detroit and Oakland. This is a spot where I don't mind going. There is some light rain, but I think this one's a little bit easier. But two mediocre righties in a pretty favorable ballpark. I'm going to be looking for a lot of offense, I think, even on both sides here.
Yeah, this is an interesting spot, I think, for both sides. Obviously, you're not looking at pitchers here. I just like Fires, I know has been someone that we have occasionally looked at, but I'm just not going to that well tonight. Like I really like some Oakland bats in here. They line up really well against Fires.
Yeah, they're in the stacking article today. It's a very weird stacking article for me. I go with some different teams, but like the A's, they're a team that when you get outside of the Coliseum, they're actually very solid. And just looking, they're getting a little bit healthy again as well. Like they got Joyce back. They're going to be able to plug in a couple lefties around like Chris Davis and Piscotty, who's been heating up. Like I think this is a lineup that you can get really deep with too. Like, I don't even mind some of the back half guys. Like Franklin Barreto's been crushing the ball too.
Yeah, he really has. I like this stack, especially on a site like FanDuel, because they're all really, really cheap. Like Piscotty, 2,800, who, as you mentioned, has been absolutely on fire recently. Matt Joyce is cheap. Jed Lowry is a little bit expensive, but I really like him in this spot too. Marcus Semien, someone that I think we can target as well. These guys do hits. Like Semien hits Fires fastball really, really well, like a 539 WOBA, 583 ISO, 92% contact rate with like 35 batted ball events. Like that's pretty solid numbers there.
Yeah, and Matt Joyce is in that same boat, 512 WOBA, 552 ISO. And Matt Olson, a guy that I like here, he's kind of in that mid-range. He doesn't have a ton of, batted ball events against his fastball range. But, I mean, he's only 4.4, got some power upside in this spot. It's just there's a lot of potential here, I think, in the mid-range, and especially lower options. Like Joyce is only 3.3 tonight.
Yeah, they're pretty much cheaper on the industry. I think DraftKings has a couple of guys priced up a little bit higher, but like Semien at 4,100. Jed Lowry at 43. Lowry is another guy that hits that fastball extremely well.
Yeah, so this is a solid team here. Detroit side of things, I definitely don't mind. I think they're going to be overlooked a little bit here. Now their prices have come back down to earth a little bit here because like Martin was like 4.8 the other day and Candelario was like 4.5. I have much more interest, but I think like Martin, Candelario, Castellanos, and like Goodrum are all interesting options.
Yeah, I really like Goodrum here. He's a guy that's been hitting the ball significantly better of late. Profiles pretty well against sinkers. He's a guy that I've been using a decent amount, and I think is at least interesting, especially at his price. Like 3,500 on DraftKings is pretty fair. FanDuel, he is only 2,600. That's a really good price for a power hitter like him. And I don't mind, the Castellanos, the Martins, and guys like that. But I think if I'm getting anyone, it's going to be Nico Goodrum here.
Yeah, I love that second base eligibility he has on DraftKings. That's probably my favorite part about him.
Yeah, on FanDuel, he's outfield only, and there's a lot of really good outfield options. I don't know that I would be going. I don't know that I'll have exposure there.
Yeah. Boston and LA next here. Rick Porcello taking on Andrew Heaney. I don't have any interest in either of these pitchers.
I don't have any interest in either of these pitchers, and I don't really have interest in bats on either side, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah, it's just, these teams don't present a ton of upside to opposing pitchers, and it's just both these pitchers are just kind of average, just slightly above average, I feel, this year. And I don't know. There's just no strikeout upside for me here.
No, I completely agree there. I'm not looking to use either guy. And like if I was looking at any bats from this game, it might be like obviously Mookie Betts, who's been pretty good recently. JD Martinez, and obviously Mike Trout if you're dying to get exposure, but at these prices, like there's better places to go.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, I mean, if you have the cash and you want to spend on like a big outfielder for one of these teams, it's fine. But, just a lot of these guys are just overpriced, I feel. Bogart's 4.8's a little bit expensive. I don't have a ton of interest in the back half of this Boston line because they've just been ass against lefties. And the Angels offense just, God, so hit or miss. And I feel like Porcello's going to be one of those guys who goes out and maybe allows like 2 to 3 earned runs. And it's going to be from like Simmons and Valbuena and Maldonado.
Probably, yeah. I'm not paying SP2 prices for these bats.
No, I'm with you. Move on here. Usually that's the games that we do talk about with these offenses, but moving on here. Pittsburgh and New York. Ivan Nova take on Zach Wheeler. Low totals here, but there is some rain. I don't think either of these pitchers are going to be actually safe.
No, and that really sucks because I actually kind of have interest in both pitchers, and I think that says more about the slate than the pitchers themselves. Let's start, I guess, with Ivan Nova, who is a guy that I've talked about a little bit this year. He made it in the pitching article, and it basically comes down to he's good against righties and really, really sucks against lefties. And with Brandon Nimmo probably not playing in this game, you have like one lefty, two lefties that you're really worried about, and one of those guys has not been hitting for power this season, so I'm very much less worried about him. And that's Conforto. I know he homered last night, but it's been a guy that because of that shoulder injury has just not been hitting for power, and you're going to get like Asdrubal Cabrera, who I guess is a threat, Dominic Smith, and good old Jose Reyes down at the bottom of that lineup. Like, not really scared about using Nova in this spot. He's not a guy that has a ton of upside. Like he's not going to strike out 9 hitters. But at like 7K, if you're fading the mid 8K guys on DraftKings at SP2, I think Nova is a decent option.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Like I think these guys are both viable if they're considered, just because you're kind of probably looking at like 15 to 18 DK points, hopefully out of one of these, and I think you can get that from both. Nova's definitely interesting if Weather Crawford's. I do prefer him a little bit over Wheeler just because I value the Pirates' bats, I guess, a little bit more than the Mets.
Yeah, I think the Pirates have some more threatening hitters than the Mets.
Jose Reyes.
Yeah. I would take every single one of the Pirates hitters over Jose Reyes.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I would take Clint Hurdle out there swinging the bat over Jose Reyes.
I mean, I would take myself out there batting over like Jose Reyes.
You mentioned retargeting the lefties, but just, I don't have any interest in even picking on Nova with anyone that you mentioned.
No.
So let's talk Wheeler here. A guy who's shown some strikeout upside, but against the Pirates team that doesn't strike out a ton. I don't mind him. He's kind of got similar issues to Nova where, he allows a little bit more production to left-handers. There is a lot of hard contact, and that does concern me because you do have guys like Moran and Dickerson and Meadows in here that, can't hit for power. But we've seen the power actually really drop off for the Pirates.
Yeah, I'm really only looking at like 2 guys from the Pittsburgh side, and that'd be Austin Meadows and Colin Moran if you need to go there, just because those guys hit the fastball that Wheeler throws really well. Like Colin Moran at 2,500 on DraftKings or on FanDuel is somewhere that I'm definitely willing to look, and 3,300 on DraftKings. Not a terrible price for him there.
No, and you mentioned Meadows. I mean, small sample size of that fastball range, but 700 ISO.
95% contact rate. That's the important part, I think.
Yeah, and a guy who's been hitting the ball well. But overall, this is kind of a mad game that probably isn't even going to play.
Yeah, let's move on to greener pastures.
Arizona and Miami. Robbie Ray making his DL debut. He's been out for some time against Wei and Chen. I don't think we can use Ray in this spot, just coming off the DL and what he went through.
I really want to like him here. Like he's got one of the best matchups on the board. That being said, and I put a note about him in the pitching article, I'm not paying that price for a guy that's coming off the DL with an oblique injury. Like we talked about this with Carlos Martinez and these other guys that have come off with similar injuries. Like they struggle. Like that is a very, very bad, like that's a tough injury to come back from. Like I can't do it. They didn't give him his third rehab starts. He only threw 66 pitches in his last rehab start. I can't pay 10K for him tonight. If you want to take the shot in tournaments, feel free. But again, a guy that I think he's going to be capped at like 70 to 80 pitches, and I just can't do it.
And especially just given this guy, it's tough for him to find the strike zone even when he's healthy at times. And that's something that, well, okay, 60, 70 pitches, but that could be 4 innings for Ray. Like he's just not a guy who will, go and plug away, throws that curveball a lot. It's hit or miss at times. I'm not exactly picking on him here, but I think it would be actually interesting if you wanted to look at like a Real Muto or Anderson to be contrarian, because we've seen a lot of guys come back from injury this year and just have looked absolutely awful.
Yeah, and Real Muto may not even be in the lineup. He's dealing with a hand injury, sat for the second day in a row yesterday, but if I was looking to be a little bit contrarian, and if I felt like he was going to be chalk, which I don't feel like he's going to be very popular, but like Starlin Castro's been hitting really well recently, projected leadoff in this spot. Brian Anderson, a guy that's really cheap, 3,600, has been hitting really well pretty much this entire season, would be the 2 guys that I think I have the most interest in.
Yeah, with you. I have some interest in the Diamondbacks here. I know it's not a great ballpark, but I think looking at some of these guys that are priced pretty well, like Nick Ahmed, 3,400, John Ryan Murphy, 3,500, like Ketel Marte, 3,600. Like there's some decent values here. Guys that have all hit lefties well, and obviously have like Goldschmidt. Like I think this is an interesting stack, and I'm hoping people are turned off by the ballpark and don't really go here.
Yeah, I really like the 2, 3, 4 hitters in this lineup: Nick Ahmed, Goldschmidt, Murphy against Chin. We know fly balls are an issue for him. Those guys have enough power in this, especially in this environment, like against a fly ball pitcher like Nick Ahmed, 357 ISO, Goldschmidt 470 ISO, Murphy 350 ISO against Wee and Chin's four-seam fastball. Good spot for those guys, and I don't even hate like the Ketel Martes and the David Peraltas and some of these other guys that are going to make the lineup. Like I do like pretty much all these Diamondbacks here.
Yeah, I do too. They're in the stacking article. Outside of Goldschmidt, I think they're all reasonably priced. You mentioned some of the back half guys, like Marte. Devin Marrero is really cheap. He's 2.6. I know he hasn't shown much against, lefties this year, but over 40% hard contact, over 400 expected WOBA against southpaws. There's some options here, and I think, there's kind of whatever you need as far as value and even pay up options. And I like the Peralta call because I think people will be turned off by the lefty on lefty matchup, and Chen's still allowing a 220 ice to the lefties.
Yeah, and Peralta's still hitting lefties pretty decently, so like not someone that I'm terribly afraid to roll out here.
No, me either. San Diego and Texas, I want this series to be over so bad.
Yeah.
I am so sick of trying to get it right because I feel like there's certain spots where you can go here, and it's just because these two teams are just absolutely awful.
Did I end up leaving him in there? I did. Clayton Richard made it in the pitching article. I think that tells you all you need to know about tonight's slate.
And he hasn't been bad. Like Richard's been on a decent streak here.
No, I mean, he's got quality starts in 8 of his last 9 games. He's dropped his ERA like almost 2 full points over that span. Like ground ball guy, has the highest ground ball rate on the slate. Actually, out of all the pitchers going tonight, he ranks 3rd in strikeouts for the entire, like over the span of the entire season. And that's with like his 19.5% strikeout rate.
Oh, man, that's not good. I know like Bumgarner and Ray have been hurt, but still, that's so bad.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been over, 15 DK points in 8 of his last 10 starts?
Yeah, like, it's not that bad of a spot for him. Like, I know Texas projected for, 5 runs, and I know it's hot, but, he's still a ground ball guy, still, doing a decent job of limiting, contact. His average, his StatCast data is solid this season. Like, I don't hate him as a value option. It just comes down to like he's 7,700 on DraftKings. I can get the Beebs or Kyle Gibson for a little bit more.
Yeah, like I like him in GPPs because I just think this Texas offense is still bad. And I know people are talking, oh, the strikeout rate's going to be lower with like Andrus and Beltre back. And yeah, that's true. But you still have a lot of guys that strike out a ton against left-handers.
Yeah, there's a decent amount in there.
Not to mention, I mean, he's really good against lefties. So like leaving Chu, Mazzara, Odorin, Gallo, like dude's got a 76% ground ball rate against lefties this year.
Yeah, and I mean, you're still getting like what, potentially 5 guys that strike out over 21% of the time against lefties in that lineup, and like 4 hitters with really high ground ball rates. So I think it's a good spot for him if you want to take that risk.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I don't have any interest in Texas bats. Usually, it's like Andrus and Beltre against lefties, and there's just better guys to go with. I feel at that price.
I agree there.
So, San Diego side. So I don't hate San Diego tonight.
I never completely hate San Diego when they're taking on a lefty, because you're going to get a lot of guys that hit lefties really, really hard. Manuel Margot has been really good recently, except for last night when I had him in my lineup that was doing really well. You have like Hunter Renfroe, Christian Villanueva. Yeah, this is a pretty good spot, even though like Vegas is in love with Minor in this spot.
So San Diego made it to the stacking article. It's the guys you mentioned. It's Margot, Myers, Renfroe, Villanueva, like, you know, guys that have some pop against lefties. And, you know, Myers obviously hasn't come back and been great against lefties, but going back to last year, still a solid ISO, still a crazy hard contact rate against southpaws. And Myers a guy, you know, he's found a little bit better form, but digging into his peripheral stats, it's kind of like how John Lester is, where Lester's like really due for a blow up because he's pitching like 2 full runs below his xFIP and Sierra.
Yeah, and like all of his like all the contact being made against him is like 124 miles per hour, and they're like ground ball straight to someone's legs.
Yeah, so I kind of feel that's how Minor is. Like he's getting by, just still allowing a lot of fly balls, a lot of hard contact, and this is just a ballpark. It's predicted to be like 99, 100 degrees, and I kind of like taking some shots on here, and I feel like, you know, at their prices you can do so, because I mean Myers is your most expensive at 4.5, but I know he's actually really cheap on FanDuel.
Yeah, they're this is an interesting stack on FanDuel. Although, like, I don't know that you really need the value over there tonight, but like Renfroe 2,900, Manny Margot 2,900, Will Myers 2,800, Christian Villanueva 2,800. If you need the value for whatever reason, you can go there. I think I still like them, and I'm probably going to roll some out and leave like a ton of salary on the table.
I think so too. And they're also stacked. I mean, if you want to use them and then like plug in some expensive bats around them, I mean, that would probably be the way to go if you wanted to. But I think also people are going to have that same strategy. So if you're in GPPs, maybe leave some money on the table with the Padres stack.
Yes.
So moving on, Minnesota, Chicago, Cal Gibson taking on James Shields. You mentioned Gibson being a couple $100 more than these guys. I think he's going to be the popular choice here tonight. And I think even on single pitcher sites, I don't hate using him.
He's the guy that I referenced earlier that I think is the safest pitcher on the slate. That tells you all you need to know. He has actually been really, really, really good lately. Like a 1.93 ERA over his last 5 starts. Strikeouts are still there for him. He's surrendered just 4 home runs over those 5 games. I like him in this spot, like especially when you consider like the guys that you're really worried about in this lineup, like Yoan Moncada. I guess Yomer Sanchez are lefties, and Kyle Gibson against lefties this season, really, really, really freaking good, allowing just a 282 WOBA and a .094 ISO.
Yeah, I like him in this spot. I like him because he's also on the road, where for some reason he's just been absolutely dominant this year, and he's been not so good at home. 217 WOBA allowed on the road, 345 at home, allowed just 1 homer on the road. I like Gibson in the spot, like you said, is, everything that he's been throwing this year, he's upped his whiff rates. He's been a little bit more productive. He is walking a little bit more guys, but I think that's just because of how he's pitching, not pitching to contact as much as he used to. And there's strikeout upside here for sure.
Yes, there definitely is. Like you mentioned the whiff rates, his slider 57% whiff rate, his curveball 49% whiff rate. Those are some pretty impressive numbers. His changeup 35%. Like he's getting a lot of ground balls on that changeup too. So that's good to see. He's, like I said, I think he's the safest option on the slate. If you're playing cash on like SP2 sites, he might be the top cash game arm for me. And like that's over some like Baumgartner and some of these other guys. And on FanDuel at like 8,300, yeah, that's a really good price for him.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like Gibson a lot. Minnesota side, I think here against Shields. I kind of expect people to still go and attack Shields. I might be just kind of turned off by it at this point.
I'm so tired of James Shields shutting people down. Like, can James Shields just stop? Just please.
Pitching. Just go home.
He comes out and he gives up like 1 earned run or 2 earned runs, maybe 3 for lucky. That being said, against the Twins last time out, 7 earned runs in 6 innings. I don't hate targeting him with some lefties because lefties have been what have given him issues pretty much for a long time now. I mean, dating back to last season, 345 WOBA, 218 ISO, 43% fly ball rate. He's basically just throwing a bunch of junk at this point in his career, like 89 mile an hour four-seam fastball, a cutter. Everything's like 20%. Like he's throwing, like I know the four-seamer's up there a little bit more, but I don't hate taking a shot on some of these guys like the Eddie Rosarios, the Eduardo Escobars, Logan Morrison as a cheap first baseman, Joe Mauer as a cheap first baseman. Some of these guys have some decent power numbers against that junk that Shields is throwing.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like the Rosarios, 5.3 is a little pricey, but I don't mind him as using him as a one-off because I think the more expensive Rosario gets, the ownership drops quite a bit. And Eduardo Escobar, a guy who hit righties really well, over at 300 ISO against him this year. I wish he was shortstop eligible. I know why he's not on FanDuel, but I wish he was because there's so many third basemen there that I like for a little bit cheaper.
Yeah, third base on FanDuel is like you need more than 2 spots where you can roster a third baseman. But I really like him over there. I think I'm leaning Jed Lowry over him, even though Jed Lowry is like second base on every other freaking side imaginable but FanDuel. But yeah, I don't hate Escobar. It's cooled off a little bit since a torrid stretch of like 2 weeks, 3 weeks earlier in the season, but I still really like him here. And Rosario, 3,800 on FanDuel is still a really good price, and Kepler's really cheap. I don't hate these guys here.
No, I don't either. Moving on, so Cleveland and St. Louis. Jack Flaherty take on Shane Bieber. Interest in these pitchers here?
I have interest in Bieber. And even though like Matt Carpenter has been just ridiculous recently and the Cardinals have been a little bit better of late, Bieber's just a guy like the strikeouts are the potential for strikeouts is there for him. Like he has pitched really well in his first 3 starts. And a little bit of history for you guys. Bieber is the first Indians pitcher since 1964 to strike out at least 6 batters in each of his first 3 starts. It was Louis Tyant was the last Indians pitcher to do that. And then there was someone in 58 that did the same thing.
That's some pretty good company.
Yeah.
That's not bad. And especially for the one thing that he came up, he was more praised for his control than strikeouts.
Yeah, and he's just mowing people down.
Yeah, he's been solid. I definitely have interest in him here. I think it's going to be like a Bieber Gibson duo for my SP2 sites. Just it's going to be like a combined 17K. It doesn't cost me too much. Bieber's just been so good against righties. You mentioned like Carpenter's a guy you got to watch out for, but I mean outside of that, like you're not worrying about Dexter Fowler or Colton Wong, although I think Wong homered last night. He should be able to just get through these right-handed bats. I know some of them may be heating up a little bit, but Yeah, I'm with you. I think we got to take what we see from Bieber and just roll with it on this slate.
I 100% agree.
And I know you point this out, but the Cardinals' offense at home is dreadful.
Yes.
So, do you like Carpenter in this spot at all? Like, would you use him or no?
He's probably a cash game guy for me, just because has just been so good recently, and he's pretty safe. I don't know that I'd roll him out in tournaments though.
No, I think there's other options at second base, but Indian side of things here, obviously Flaherty's been a guy who's been pitching well. Still allowing some hard contact to lefties, which is, dating back to last year's where we saw some struggles with. But we've seen the Indians' offense cool off here. I just don't know if the strikeout upside is necessarily there, just given all the lefties.
No, I don't think the strikeout upside is there for him tonight, and I don't have a lot of interest in him. But at the same time, like, I don't really want to stack against him. Like, I don't hate taking a shot on like Michael Brantley as someone, just because he just insane contact rates against most of Flaherty's pitches, and that'd probably be about it.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be a lot of offense in this game, and Vegas isn't expecting the same.
Nope.
Chicago and LA, Alex Wood versus Kyle Hendricks. I feel like if these two were in different spots, I'd have interest in them. They're cheap. I just don't see any upside here.
No, I know Alex Wood coming off a good game against the Mets, but at this point, everyone has good games against the Mets. I don't necessarily think that I buy into it. Vegas is buying into it, which is interesting to see. But I think I have more interest in some bats from this game as opposed to either pitcher. Like, I'm just not. I'm done with Kyle Hendricks. Like, we're through. We're over. Never again.
It's just like Hendricks is a guy who's, doesn't miss a ton of bats outside of with that changeup. I know he throws it like 29-30% of the time, but yeah, I'm kind of with you. I kind of like some bats here. I think there's some one-offs and some interesting prices. Like, I'll continue to just look at Jock Peterson and Max Muncy, who just been absolutely raking. Peterson's now under 300 ISO with the 299, but both those guys just absolute monster power numbers against right-handers.
Yeah, and man, on FanDuel, Jock Peterson is a free square. He's 2,900 on FanDuel.
Yeah, he's been cheap all year. I don't get it.
Yeah.
Just keep going that way. And like Muncy, it's a small sample size, but his numbers against sinkers, 875 ISO. But even some of these other guys, Matt Kemp's been hitting the ball really well. I think Bellinger's interesting in this spot. Grandal, 2 at 4K if you want a power option at catcher.
Yeah, I really like Grandal in the spot. Cody Bellinger been hitting the ball really well recently. I don't hate him. Like, these guys are priced pretty fairly. Like, this is a really good spot for him, I think, against Hendricks. And I think people are going to underrate this offense. And of course, my dude Max Muncy, he's a plug and play for me. He will continue to be a plug and play for me, like every single night against a righty. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. Cubs side of things here, you're going to get like Albert Almora leading off. Javier Baez has been on an absolute tear. A little bit pricey, but I don't mind rolling with him in GPPs.
Obviously, he's worth it.
Oh, you were saving that one. I know it.
I was. I had to get a second pun in here. Like, he's been really good recently. I think he's second in the majors over the last 14 days and hard contact at 61%. Ian Happ third behind him at 60%. I really do think Javier Baez is probably the top second base option on the slate as far as FanDuel goes. DraftKings, you obviously have guys that are multi-position eligibility, and you have Jed Lowry playing the position that he actually plays. Screw you, FanDuel. So I like Baez, especially on FanDuel tonight.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's kind of it though. There's not a ton of guys on. Obviously, Chris Bryant being out and just taking a big righty out. I don't feel like Almora is really in play at these prices. He's not a value. I think there's other options I'd rather go with.
Yeah, I don't think you need to get a ton of exposure to too many of these guys, but the Bryant or the Baez is probably like the guy that I have the most interest in, maybe some Schwarber. And if you want to hope that Ian Happ doesn't strike out 9 times tonight, I don't hate taking a shot on him as well.
No, I don't either. Next here we have the Giants and Rockies. Madison Bumgarner take on Kyle Freeland. We saw Bumgarner come out and pitch okay, but it's still the Padres. Like, the swinging strikes weren't there. I'm still not 100% like in love with him here that he's back.
No, and I put him in the pitching article, and I felt like I was obliged to put him in because he's Madison Bumgarner. I think in cash games, he's someone that you can consider like on SP2 sites because I think he's going to be popular because he's Madison Bumgarner. And as I put in the article, like if you're just building cash lineups and you think he's going to be popular and he comes out and he doesn't have a good game, it's not going to hurt you that bad if he's, over 50% owned or over 40% owned, which there's a very good chance he could be. In tournaments, he's a fade for me. Like, I know he had a good game against the Padres, but that's the Padres. Like, the strikeout's still not really there for him, 16.2% in his 4 outings. Hard contact is not pretty, like 42.5% overall. Fly balls 36%. I know some of that's going to get negated by the fact that like AT&T Park is huge, but I don't know that I can do it in tournaments.
Yeah, I can't either. Like, he's only averaging like 90 miles an hour on that sinker and fastball that he's throwing. Like, it's down a little bit from last year, and he's just been a guy who's just battling injuries. He just hasn't really been the guy that we used to, especially for the strikeouts at these price tags. I'm fine with him in cash games, for a guy, especially because he's not crazy high priced to like an egregious amount. But GPPs, man, I'm with you. Like, I just can't play this guy.
Yep.
So, yeah, God, this wasn't in AT&T. Like, obviously, I'd have a lot of interest in picking on him.
I still have some interest in picking on him, even with it being an AT&T. Like, I think in tournaments, I think you can take some shots on some of these guys. Like, Charlie Blackmon hits him really well. Like, if you're a BVP truther, like Blackmon, Arenado, good options here. DJ LeMahieu, a decent option. Carlos Gonzalez, a decent option. If you're into BVP, I think you have to consider using some of these guys tonight.
Yeah, okay. Like, I mean, the Arenado price is a little bit steep for me, but I like taking shots on maybe like a Story or a Desmond. Desmond just continues to rake against lefties, and maybe a 4K. It's basically the cheaper guys that I have the interest in.
Yeah, and Arenado, 66% hard contact over the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I don't care where he is facing a lefty. If you want to get him in, it's fine. It's just 5'7".
Yeah.
Giant side of things here. I feel like we've used Freeland in the past against this Giants team, but I feel like at home they've been better. Their hard contact and contact is still something I'm not really looking to target right now.
I think there's a couple guys that I don't hate using, like Gorkis Hernandez and like even.
I just meant Freeland. No, target Freeland.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to use Freeland tonight. Like at his, what is he priced on DraftKings? 8,300. Like,
give me Gibson.
Yeah, for sure. I don't hate taking a shot. I wrote these guys up last night. Actually didn't even check the score of that game. I don't know how they did. I know Gorkis hit a homer. I don't know how everyone else did, but I don't hate taking a shot on some of these bats here, even some of the lefties.
Yeah, I don't either. They're all at fair prices. You look at McCutcheon, he's 3.9. Gorkis Hernandez 3.6. I mean, Posey, if you want to use him, he's 4.2. But like you said, even some of the lefties are in play here. We've seen Crawford hit well. Belt still has some pop or some hard contact against lefties, 40%. But they're all going to go overlooked in this game. I think it's a good night if you want to look. And I kind of even don't hate like a game stack here.
Yeah, I could completely get behind that. And don't overlook someone like Alan Hansen, projected to bat at the bottom of that lineup, someone that has been hitting the ball pretty well recently.
Hansen's a stud. I feel like he needs some everyday time here.
He's been getting a lot more time, so that's good.
Yeah. Home run calls. What do you got?
Can I take my free square?
You want to take Peterson?
No, Max Muncy.
One or the other.
Eventually, you're just gonna be like, no, you can't take Max Muncy anymore. And Jed Lowry.
All right. I'm gonna go Matt Joyce, and I'm gonna go Will Myers.
Dig it.
So that's it for us. You can go to dailyfantasycafe.com. You can check out our articles today. Cheat sheets will be up a little bit this afternoon. And good luck.
Good luck tonight.